It's Pentecost Sunday. It's the birthday of the church. We are all gathered in one spot celebrating this rare moment of understanding, a moment that inspires us to work collectively and to share the message of love demonstrated through the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. And this is made possible by the one who created and continues to create, the one who has said and continues to say, it is good. The Genesis text reminds us of the mystery and the power of God. And there is a lot going on in that text that Bill read this morning. There is a lot of growing and maturing and flying and birthing and swimming and walking in that first chapter of Genesis. And God said there is light and there is night, and God saw that it was good. God's creative action through words is remarkable. And God said. Now, I only wish my words had that much power, right? Especially when the dishwasher needs to be unloaded, or the clothes need to be picked up off the floor. And Mom said. And only sometimes does it happen. I am limited in my powers. God's powers, on the other hand, are quite visionary and even transcendent, especially when we gather together as the church. Associate Professor of Theology and Culture at Seattle School of Theology and Psychology, Ron Ruthruff, writes, quote, "Transcendence is a theological term, a 25-cent word that simply means the existence beyond what is perceived as normal or human. This concept is incredibly difficult for those of us who grew up in the shadow of enlightenment and the corresponding advances in scientific discovery. With all that we know, it is hard not to get caught up in the literal interpretation of creation. How do we embrace the mystery of the story that God is other and not like us? As Ruthruff says, quote, how do we read it in a way that builds our faith and helps us avoid the way of thinking that seeks certainty and control? And how then does this relate with us, being the church today? God is at work. I cannot control God, nor can I contain God. I trust in this process, and yet that does not mean I should not question or challenge. When we embrace the mystery of God and what God can do, we lean into our own gifts and abilities, that we too are something more that God has intended. When we embrace the mystery of God, we lean into our vision of what we hope to be and do, much like God did when God said. Sarah Jewell, in her book Alphabet of Faith, writes that vision isn't just the physical sight we have, it's also our values and our personal plan for what is most important in our life. This applies to each of us as individuals, but also to all of us as a community of faith. Our common values and our common plan for what is most important as followers of Jesus living in this 21st century. If the season of Lent asks us to look inside ourselves and to reflect on how we are living, then this season of Pentecost that we are about to embark upon, which begins with a reminder that we are disciples of Jesus in a world that needs more Jesus, I would contest, asks us to look around ourselves and to see how our living affects others. Nothing changes if we refuse to see. Systems don't change, revolutions don't happen. Jesus doesn't fulfill his promise if we refuse to see, if we choose not to act on our vision, our common values, and our common mission, which is, as always, to love one another. through justice and mercy and kindness and peace. Now, as you recall, our mission priorities for our congregation are faith formation and spiritual life, community outreach, children, youth, and young adults and seniors. Our vision to live out Jesus' teaching, to love thy neighbor by serving as a community catalyst, connector, and convener, and by creating a space to serve as a prophetic witness, words that you hear every Sunday morning. The values that guide us on our journey are open and affirming, welcoming and inclusive, and generous and supportive. Being mindful of our mission priorities, we need to ensure that our values and our vision are aligned as we continue to do this work. And then why does any of this matter? The big so what? The mystery of where we are headed as church, as this congregation, or even as the church universal, can be exciting if we let the transcendence of God wash over us. Julian DeShaver, senior minister of University Church in Chicago, writes, quote, global health crises, challenging political landscapes, economic upheaval, and racial reckonings are but a few of the real chances we have as the church to mark the world with the imprint of God. And if we think people leading us will all have to have PhDs, we are not only fooling ourselves, but costing ourselves precious time. What our church needs are people who can help elicit trust and speak to our deepest yearnings. We need congregations that address realities with the boldness and faithfulness of the one whom we claim inspires us. We need lay people and clergy who are emboldened to speak the truth of God within the church's walls and at the gates of empire. End quote. Congregations need to trust themselves. We need to trust ourselves to be the image of God, to envision it, to move toward it, to adjust the contours, and to scribble in the margins. The church at Pentecost was filled with an energy and the spirit that could not be seen, but certainly could be felt, much like it is today. So friends, the question I ask the kids, why does church matter to you? Why do you still come to church? And does any of this matter and make a difference? God's creation, God's church, is flawed, much like Jesus and even the disciples were. And yet, perhaps we need to live into the words that are on the banner in our parking lot. How many times have we walked by that banner and haven't even seen it? That banner says, be the church, protect the environment, care for the poor, forgive often, reject racism, fight for the powerless, share earthly and spiritual resources, embrace diversity, love God, and finally, enjoy this life. As we build upon the image of God made manifest through the life of Jesus and through us in this institution called church, may we be reminded of Reinhold Niebuhr's prayer. God, give us the grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the things that should be changed, and wisdom to distinguish the one from the other. May we move forward with the vision to see what God saw and continues to see, and to call it good. It is so very good. And let the people say,